Hi. Welcome to Artist and Critic. I'm Don Gray. Tonight we have a special treat. A friend of mine and really quite a good artist is with us, and we're going to be looking at his work. His name is Myron Heise, and I've known Myron for a number of years now, and his paintings are really quite expressive and very, very sound, and we'll get into some of the motivations of his work in just a moment. Myron's been in New York for a number of years, originally from Bancroft, Nebraska, and he'll fill us in a little bit on some of those biographical details. His work is currently being exhibited at the NoHo Gallery, 164, is that right, Mark?
168.
168 Mercer Street in New York City, in the Soho area. And we invite you to come by and look at them. They're really quite expressive. The show's entitled Night Visions, and it pictures Bancroft, Nebraska, New York City, and Florence, Italy at night. And there are marvelous studies of bridges and architecture, as well as people in nightclubs and some dives, I guess we could call them.
Right.
I will be looking at Myron's pictures in just one moment, but I'd like to set the theme of the show by a statement that Myron wrote about what the night means to him, at least in one aspect. And since almost all of the pictures in his show at NoHo are night scenes. For the past 15 years, I have been mainly concerned with the metropolis at night. The city at night symbolizes to me the dark age that we are now going through, a spiritless, hero-less age, and an age of low moral standards and lack of love and awe for the miracle of life. So when we're looking at these pictures, it's not only the beauty of the night, but the significance of the night that Myron is painting. All right, let's go to the first picture, and we'll talk about that. Myron, this is to me a tremendously striking painting, and why don't you tell us something about it?
Okay, the title of the painting is The Steakhouse Madonna. Now this is a Nebraska painting. It's the only one of the slides we have here. I did a sketch in my sketchbook. This is Dakota City, Nebraska at Hungry's Cafe. And it was just a quick sketch, maybe 5 minutes. But then later I translated it into a painting. And it was just a feeling. I was just struck by, the woman, the blonde, and the light dress, and then the darkness around her. And this was, then I translated, and it's like later, like I read in more symbolic things, but like it was just a feeling, a very striking feeling that made me want to paint this.
The thing that intrigues me about the picture is that she's literally almost headless, and it really, I don't know what interpretation we can give to it specifically, because as you say, both of us are artists and we just kind of respond to what we paint, and now it's sort of the locker room show, so to speak, and we're analyzing the plays of the game, but it really speaks to me as of sort of a loss of humanity in a sense, and talking about that the dark age that's upon us, the troubling age, as if like this huge guillotine or cleaver beheaded her in a sense. And okay, let's take a look at the next picture. What are we going to be looking at here, Myron?
Okay, this is downtown Manhattan. This is actually a view from the roof of my studio, which is in lower Manhattan, sort of the Soho section. And it just, like I can rig a spotlight from my studio, and with a long extension I can go on the roof. And this is just a view looking down the Woolworth Building and the World Trade Centers there. Now I did 2 murals for Ninex, which we'll see later, and they were also used the same material from my roof of my studio building.
Well, all of the pictures are really quite beautiful, but when you have these lighted spires glowing in the darkness, it almost, the way I look at them, they're almost kind of symbols of hope, or somehow existence continues in the darkness in a sense, and they have quite a spiritual.
Well, I'm a very hopeful person, and hopefully spiritual too, but I do see the night as symbol of a kind of a time of struggle, you know. And but it's like my outlook and attitude is very positive and hopeful, and you know,
Despite that, and
despite that,
being part of it.
Yes, yes.
Let's go to the next picture, and we'll continue our thoughts. I know that I went through a period when I was doing still lives with dark backgrounds, and I was exploring some of the same ideas. What's happening here in Times Square?
This is Times Square. Now, this was done on the spot, which a lot of my paintings are. Now, I set up, like when you're in Times Square from that island, I was in that island.
And all the traffic is
going by on both sides, which is very exciting and stimulating. And there's neons on all sides. And the concrete is only about 4 to 5 feet wide at that point. And then I use a street light nearby as my light. And this was done 2 nights in Times Square. And then I worked on it in my studio. So that's sort of my present method with paintings done on the spot, is that I carry them further into my style in the studio.
In the studio, yeah. Well, I think painting outside leads to a rougher style in the sense. I mean, there's so much energy and it's so difficult, number two. But I don't know, I am a great admirer of your painting and the idea of your painting out of doors, because it seems like so much painting today is artificial, and you're right out there feeling the pulse of life, so to speak. And you know, God knows if you get sideswiped out there on that. But I mean, it's part of the whole energy of it.
That's right. Maybe that is part of the excitement of it, or the challenge of it.
Okay, let's take a look at the next picture. And okay, here we go inside.
Okay, no, this is not inside.
Oh,
this is outside.
Oh, is it?
But it's like you see, that's the sky up there, and those flowers are neons.
Oh, okay.
This is a San Gennaro Street Festival in Little Italy on Mulberry Street, very world famous, I guess. Later, I'll have paintings of the real Italy, but this is Little Italy in New York. And the way I did this is, okay, now this was not done on the spot, because I love throngs of people, and I love to paint them, but it's like they don't hold the pose.
Yes.
So how do you capture this life? I took my sketchbook. I would see a kind of a thing that I wanted, figures or this or that, and I'd try to remember it. I'd go between the booths there and sketch it out. And then I would go, and then I would find another theme. And I did maybe several dozen of these. And then I grouped them together in the painting. And then, and that's the painting. I mean, like, and I hope to do this again in a more ambitious and larger type of San Gennaro Festival.
Oh, great. Well, it's a very dynamic picture, which leads us into the next one. And kind of in contrast, we have these dark men in a darker, more haunted setting, where the 2 women in the first one seem so dynamic and seem to almost be part of a single thing that kind of wanted to split apart. You know, it's really very dynamic. What are you expressing here, or what caught your...
Okay, well, what this is, I worked in the New York Men's Shelter on 3rd Street for 6 months. And I worked on the recreation floor, and what I was supposed to do was just to be a presence and to work with any disturbance. And I had an opportunity to sketch, because I could do this and sketch. And I did hundreds and hundreds and several sketchbooks of drawings. And this painting, and I have a larger men's shelter painting, are from the sketches.
Yeah,
so this is a men's shelter,
I remember that, yeah.
And this is their card playing room, and you know, it's a very sad place.
And you've got a figure in the background, I noticed, that looks almost like a looming figure. I'm going to say death, because you have another picture where the up and down escalator.
Well, it could be, but you know, that would be the subconscious coming through. But it was like a very sad soul that was probably, you know, demented, you know, and I was remembering him and working from the sketch.
Yeah, well, it's a very dynamic composition. And let's just smoothly continue to the pictures, because that's what we want to talk about here. Okay, now this,
This is, now this is the more ambitious men's shelter painting. And it was 30 inches by 40. Now, the same figure, card players are in there, if you look closely.
Lower center there.
Okay. But this is, now this is using dozens of other sketches and trying to create those rooms on the 5th floor of the men's shelter where I worked, and selecting different characters or people. Like the guy at the table there is like Bartleby the Scrivener. Like this guy he was sort of out of his mind, but
He'll
he
never
was
leave
focused.
the place. He
Right.
never leaves.
That's right. Well, anyway, he just was writing and writing and writing very intensely, and it was all nonsense. But he was very serious, very
dear.
focused, and it was very sad,
Dear.
but interesting. I mean, and
There's-
they chose it.
There's such a wonderful, really kind of claustrophobic, zooming sense of perspective and color. I mean, the green wall in the right center
Yeah.
has this wonderful angle to it, and I think probably that figure in the left background, the
It's the
dark
same
figure is
figure.
the same figure.
It's
just,
the same
they're just
figure. It's from the
transposed and
same
different.
sketch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little different in this painting, but
Yeah.
it's the same inspiration. Yes.
Well, there's so much character in your pictures, and I think that's one of the things that's genuine about them. You know,
Yeah.
aside from the fact that they're painted from reality, but they just have some of the guts and the feeling and the reality of
Yeah.
everyday life that's really quite striking.
Well, like
quite
for
good.
this, I had experienced. I mean, like I did the sketches, so like to paint it, I did draw on that experience and knowing these
Yeah,
men. You know.
yeah, it's really they're terrific. Okay, let's go on to the next one. See what excellent. Oh, this is really quite different, but
Okay,
striking.
it's different, but the same. And like what, the person who wrote for my catalog compared this with the men's shelter. This is McDonald's.
What, is that William Zimmer of the
Yeah.
Times
Yes.
he wrote?
Yes. This is a. I call this "You Deserve a Break Tonight," but it's like this is a McDonald's on 71st Street, I think. But I just set my easel up in front of the window and looked in to McDonald's, and I painted on two nights. I don't know if they were successive, and then I worked as I do in the studio to push it a little further. But this is a theme I like. I mean,
Yeah.
the bars, which
Yeah.
I think we'll come to later, and
Yeah.
the late night, the nightlife.
And instead of being filled with lots of figures, you get a sense of isolation
Yeah.
and emptiness here.
Yeah, and it's
those tables remind me of the cabs in Times Square.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
But also the sadness also relates to the men's shelter, where it's where people are very lonely, very lost, and very much little substance to their life.
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
So it does relate to that.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean to say the man's shelter was happy by any means, but,
Yeah.
but this is filled with that kind of gaudy,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost artificial light that can be. It kind of reminds me of Hopper's Nighthawks in
Yeah.
a way, and I guess
Well, that's one of
you
my,
like Hopper as much
it's
as I
probably
do,
my
probably.
favorite painter, at least my favorite American
Yeah,
painter.
yeah, he's great. Okay, so we go to the another aspect of nightlife is the go-go.
Okay, I call this Go-Go Girls with Watchers. And this was done in one of my methods of working is I work from sketches. This was done from a few sketches made on location, and then worked in the studio and possibly invented a lot, of the painting. And this is earlier painting actually.
One gets a feeling, there's a wonderful contrast of light and dark and the rich colors and the red drapes and so forth, but she obviously is sort of the desired
Yeah.
goal of the men in a sense, and I get a feeling that it's not just physical and sexual, but it's almost kind of like a spiritual yearning or a total fulfillment kind of thing. I'm giving you
Well,
my
okay,
postmortems
well,
here.
okay.
It may not be what
Okay,
you
you're
were
reading.
after.
Well, okay, well, okay. See, like the painting was just like a feeling wanting to paint this, but like now I see it could be. It's sort of like the woman is vital and full of life, and sort of giving, and the men are sort of passive, and it's like
Kind of repressed,
it's like the sexuality is sort of so removed. I mean, it's like it just like watching passive. It's not. Something's wrong with that. I mean, that's a sad dark ages because it's like
yeah,
the sensuality is. It's
not an integral part of life.
It's not
and a
healthy. It's not
natural-
integral. It's like
Yeah.
it's a performance, and the men are passive and removed.
Okay, let's go on to the next ones, and I think we'll see some of the same ideas. Some of your Italian pictures, which we won't look at right now, but we'll get to. You have those beautiful towers and the moon in the sky.
Right.
I think of your Hotel Dixie as kind of
Yeah.
symbols of light rising
Yeah.
above the darkness, or
Right.
something people are reaching toward.
Okay.
Oh, this is
We're still we're in the bar now. This is a Bowery bar, which is no longer there, but I used to be there once in a while. But I was able to paint on the spot, and because they had a abandoned kitchen, so I was able to use that spot and
be somewhat removed,
yes,
yet
somewhat
part of it
removed,
at the same time.
And yeah, and it's like I feel very strong, but this is very sad because it is the Bowery and sort of lost souls, except the lot of, I mean, this was not the down and out Bowery. I mean, these people had very substantial lives at one time. You know, it's like there are degrees of class also in the Bowery bars.
Of decay and so forth. Yeah, very, very powerful painting. To make sure that we get all of the work in, let's go to the next one, and we'll keep the pictures going. But there's a wonderful cohesiveness about here we go, about your past picture.
Okay, this is a painting. Now, this is done from sketches. Like I keep a lot of my sketchbooks going. This was like a night with another artist friend, Tom Duncan. We did the subways, you know, where the sketched in the subways. And this was from a sketch, and it's the up escalator on 34th Street. Now, the title of the painting is Death on the Down Escalator, but that was really an afterthought, because after I painted it, this figure on the escalator looked like death, and I sort of like to play with titles, you know. So, you know, like, and then I can read more into it, and like the symbology I can read or invent afterwards. And I don't know if that's what really came through, but it's like the painting is from the spontaneous reaction to life.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, we've talked a lot about art and painting, and we'll come back to this picture in just a second. I'd like to see it in a minute, but that it's so important to experience reality and to paint from it without over-intellectualizing at the moment of creation.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is after the fact, and kind of like when you look at any picture, you go to a museum, you and even if you haven't painted it, you respond to it emotionally. Maybe it's color or some unknown feeling you get from it, and then later you start saying, "Gee, look what he did with this shape, and how did he put it together?" You know, I mean, artists do that kind of thing. At least the artists that we know and so forth.
And also, I think, I mean, like, I do have a point of view of life and a worldview, and I think that comes through in the overall body of my work.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so like it's. So I don't know that like each individual picture, you know, can you know, tell that story.
Exactly, it has part of the whole. Just I just briefly want to look at this. It seems to me like this picture really kind of talks about the modern dark age. You know, the technological overwhelming of mankind, and here he is, unable to go left or right, and he must follow this kind of rigid, society-oriented or dictated kind of road, so to speak. You know, there's no way out.
Well, it could be that, but it could also be positive. It could be
he's going up.
It could be going up.
Okay,
you know?
Absolutely.
And the death of the
is coming
bad
down
is
and
descending,
and good is riding up.
So it can be read in different ways.
Okay, we went backwards too. We've already seen this, so we've got to go forward a couple of pictures. And there we go. Okay.
Okay, this is well, it's near Times Square. It's like 45th Street and 8th Avenue. It's like the porno movie theaters, but seen from the 17th floor. A friend had a studio there, an apartment, which I painted from. I did a series of about 6 paintings there, and this is one of them, and it's looking down, and just a little aspect of New York.
It's wonderfully compact and really quite threateningly dark. You know, the way the opening with the Go-Go Girl with dancers, it was dark, a light, and this is sort of darkness. It's almost like curtains of light have parted, and you've revealed a dark truth, so to speak. Let's go on, because I want to make sure that we see the Italian pictures, because they are remarkable paintings. And this is also remarkable. This is one of my favorites.
Okay, this is I call this Witch's Sabbath on Forsyth Street. Now, this is a view out my studio window. And it was sort of a scene that I had witnessed late at night, and then the next day I painted. Like there on this street at that time, there was prostitutes and their johns, and pimps were in the park, and it was very ritualistic. And then they have it was winter, so they had the fire burning in the trash can. So it was all very symbolic and mythological feeling, but it's like it was done from a real experience and witnessing the scene.
It's so dynamic and so alive and so pulsating with the movement of the prostitutes as well as the flames of the can. It's a marvelous picture. Let's continue, because I'm really want to see the Italian pictures as well. Make sure that we are able to devote enough time to them. And I'm not sure when they're going to start.
We're still a ways. This is the bar. This is the Village Gate. I'm doing a series of paintings of jazz clubs. as you know, I'm progressing from the bars to like jazz clubs and nightclubs. This is a village gate from a sketch again. And then the next one also.
Let's take a look at that next one.
The next one also is it's the same club, the Village Gate, and this is called Gato at the Gate, Gato Barbieri performing. And this is again was done from a sketch.
These are really quite haunting.
Yeah,
I mean, do you feel they are? I mean, that they're haunting? I mean, you just captured the night.
I feel good. I feel they're strong. I don't know if
yeah, they're extremely
haunting.
strong.
Yeah.
But they're just. It's almost like playing until death overtakes them in a sense. I mean, they're surrounded by this darkness, and they're playing their tune, living their lives, so to speak, and really quite just the way the heads of the others, they were sort of cut off, and they're kind of enveloped by the night, and yet kind of asserting themselves. I may be overdoing it from your point of view, but that's just to express some of the feeling I'm getting from them.
Yeah. Okay, now I think we have the murals next. Yes, this is. I did 2 mural commissions for Ninex Corporation. This is now this, like I said before, this is a view from my roof, but it's like I combine certain elements, so it's not a photographic view, but it is generally the truth is what I see looking north from my roof, the Empire State Building to the Chrysler Building and the streets below. And then if you take the next slide, it's a view from my, the next slide's coming up here. This is a view from my roof looking south. And again, it's, some things are pushed around in order for the composition, but these are in Ninex offices on 43rd Street.
How large are they?
They're 40 inches high by 60 inches wide.
So they're good size.
Okay, now we'll get to the Italian ones.
Oh, fantastic. But I think we'll see a similarity. I don't know what Italian. Oh,
okay, now
this is one of my favorites.
This is probably my best Italian picture that I have, the best painting that I have, I think. And it's like, it's 25 years old. I did it in Florence, Italy in 1964.
You're kidding.
And it is in my show at NoHo. Now I have 3 more paintings, 3 more slides here that I did the last couple of years.
Well, wait, I'd like to still see that one. But so the show at NoHo is fundamentally a retrospective exhibition.
It spans 25 years. I mean,
25.
the early paintings, there's this one, and then there's a Hotel Dixie, which is about 15 years old, and a few others. They're generally from the last 3 to 4 years, but it is retrospective. You include a few that
go back that far.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really struck by this. Number one, it's so well painted. I mean, it's really a brilliant statement. And what I found interesting too was the sense of the statues on the left with the light and the tower on the right. I mean, it sets up a wonderful kind of tension that seems almost resolved by the medallion on the bridge. You know, I mean, these elements become.
I feel very strong about that.
Terrific. Yeah. And you get a sense of the contemplativeness, if that's the right word, of the man looking into the river and all the thoughts that come to him about his personal destiny and life, and really wonderful painting.
Okay, the next one, and this is this is Ponte Vecchio. Now this was just completed last year, and this was a trip. Like I lived in Italy in 62 to 66, and but I went back in 87, and this is I made studies, and this is from the study made in 87 and completed just last year.
There's a wonderful sense of, well, obviously the light and dark is always so crisp, and I love the curves of the bridge too against the rectangular architecture of the buildings. But what you have in these and in those New York murals too, the Ninex, you have a sense of these light towers and the moon. I think there'll be a moon in some of your Italian sort of rising above, and it seemed to me to try to rise above the darkness that you talk about. And this picture, some to me have been kind of haunting, but to me it's really quite just a very solid, expressive piece of painting. It's really quite good.
Thank you.
Well, okay, let's take a look at the next in the series of Italian paintings here.
Okay.
Here's the moon.
Okay, now this has the moon, and this is, I just call this Reflections in the Arno. The church bell tower there, that's the Santo Spirito, and that's looking across the Arno, and it's Reflections in the Arno.
You know, I don't know if you've read Jung. I think you've read some Joseph Campbell. Or someone
Joseph
mentioned.
Campbell, I'm a fan of Joseph Campbell and his mythology.
You know, when I look at something like that, it looks like layers and zones, and you know, I would think of the dark lower part and the reflections as almost like, oh, if we're talking about consciousness and unconsciousness, you know, it's
Yeah.
like the dark
Yeah.
unconscious being in that dark lower zone, and then the above kind of the conscious or sort of spiritual or intellectual or
Right,
aspirational
yeah,
aspects.
yeah.
I don't know how that reads to you, but you know, with the towers again and the moon,
Yeah.
it speaks to me of
Well,
that
I-
rising above
yeah.
the darkness of the
Yeah,
age.
I
and
feel that there's very much significance in this, but I just not so much on the conscious level for me, intellectual level.
right.
But I think, like as an artist, my articulateness has to be in my painting, you know, in my themes,
Exactly.
in my paint, and hopefully I can give enough clues in my words, you know, okay,
Yeah.
now this is San Frediano.
Can we pull back a little bit on that and get the moon?
yeah,
in
that-
it and the,
Yeah, this is, I guess, the favorite painting of the series I've been doing the last 2 years from our last trip with my honey over to Florence. And this is San Frediano, and again, the reflections in the water, and I'm very pleased with this painting.
it's a beautiful picture, and the luminosity of the tower is absolutely remarkable. And we'll close the program on this. Myron Heise's Night Visions at the NoHo Gallery, 168 Mercer Street. It's well worth your visit because the pictures are extremely powerful, extremely genuine, and filled with a strong emotional content that really brings them to life. Program's been Artist and Critic. I'm Don Gray. Thanks for being with us.